What is good, Mexit planners? Many people move to Merida, Mexico with the thought and the preconceived notion that everything in Mexico is absolutely cheap. Well, I'm here to tell you there are a few things that will put you in a financial rock and a hard place if you're not prepared for them. So today we're going to discuss how to protect your pockets so that you are not put in a financial hardship if you run into one of these situations. Let's go. Today we're going to talk all about insurance in Mexico. There are some things that are very similar to insurance in the United States, and there's others that are completely different. And we're going to discuss insurance in three different areas. The first area will be car insurance because it's probably the most similar to what we have in the United States. And then the second area will be homeowners insurance, followed by healthcare, because healthcare is probably the most extensive thing that we need to discuss the differences with. I have all three for my family because we wanted to make sure that we were covered just like we are here in the United States for any type of, situation that may come up, whether it's home related, health related, or in our car. And so we have all three types of insurance. So in Mexico, if you own a car, it's a good idea to have car insurance. And for a variety of reasons, just like it is in the United States, you want to make sure A, you protect your car, B, if you're in an accident, that you're covered yourself as well as the other person's vehicle, and then C, if you need to get a rental or something like that, that's going to be covered. And all of that is provided for you with car insurance in Mexico. Now, there's a couple of significant differences, and probably the biggest is just the price. I live in Georgia in the United States, and as you know, we're probably one of the highest places in the States for car insurance. It's just absolutely ridiculous how much car insurance costs here. I think we pay for, our family somewhere on the order of $400 to $500 a month. And it's just ridiculous, right? Because it's something you very rarely use, but when you need it, and you got to have it by law. In Mexico, however, for pretty much the exact same type of coverages that we have here, collision, personal injury, all of those things that you would have on your policy in the United States, we have for our insurance in Mexico. But the biggest difference is going to be the price. My annual policy for Mexico is 6,400 pesos. Let me say that again. 6,432 pesos is my annual policy for car insurance for the entire year in Mexico. Now, that is roughly $320 or so for the year, not per month, not, every 6 months or what have you, for the year. It's almost 10 times less than what we pay for insurance, in the United States. The other crazy facts that I'll tell you about my car insurance in Mexico is my policy was the exact same amount this year as it was last year. So I paid $320 last year, and again, I'm paying roughly $320 US for car insurance in Mexico this year. For the most part, there are some other things that you have to be aware of. If you have an insurance claim, you don't want to move the car at all. Don't move it an inch. Don't get it out of traffic. Don't move any place where the accident happened. Leave the car exactly where it is. Call the police, get a report, call your insurance company, let them come out. Do not move the vehicle. So that's one of the biggest differences. If you move the vehicle, pretty much the claim is null and void, and they're going to have a hard time proving who was at fault and all of those things. So that is a little bit about car insurance in Mexico. Make sure you get it. If you're a resident and you have a car, make sure you have car insurance. So again, one of the biggest differences between homeowners insurance or renters insurance in Mexico versus the US is just going to be cost. So you're covered for a lot of the same things, but the expense in Mexico is going to be far less than it is in the United States. To give you an example, I received a quote recently for homeowners insurance for my house in Atlanta, and it was over $2,500 for the year. Now, compare and contrast that to what's in Mexico. For the same, type of a policy for similar stuff, I received a quote for $348 for the year. So that is a huge difference. I'm going to repeat that. My quote in Mexico was $348 for the entire year. And that covers my dwelling, that covers personal injury if someone's injured in my home. It also covers, my electronics and refrigerators and appliances and all of those things from power surges. So having homeowners insurance is another way to protect your pocket from a financial hardship if you're moving to Mexico. So the next type of insurance we're going to talk about here in Mexico to protect your pockets is going to be health insurance. A healthcare issue is one of the biggest issues that can cause you financial hardship in Mexico. Unlike the United States, they will not treat you without some form of payment. So they ask you for a credit card right up front. My previous video, which I'll link to above, I talked about a situation where a young man was hospitalized in Progreso, Mexico, and could not afford the $14,000 bill. So Tyler Perry actually bailed him out so he could get back to the United States. Unlike in the United States, they will not treat you without some form of payment or insurance when you check in. And so that's a huge departure from what we're used to. In the States, you can go get treated in the emergency room, get billed and pay the bill or don't pay the bill. It'll go on your credit, etc. In Mexico, they will stabilize you, but they will not continue to do treatment until they have some form of payment. So huge difference. And you need to be protected whether you're a tourist or a resident in Mexico from any type of hospitalization. Now, there's going to be all sorts of things we're going to talk about in terms of healthcare insurance, but think of it first and foremost as not your normal healthcare like we have in the States where you're paying for doctor visits and medical tests and medications. Those things are pretty inexpensive to pay for out of pocket. For instance, a doctor visit to visit your home even is something like $50. Or you can go to any pharmacy, see a doctor, get a prescription, and you're talking about less than $10 in some cases. And so, prescriptions are relatively inexpensive. They're not inflated like they are here in the United States. You can get prescription drugs in Mexico for, pretty inexpensively at many different pharmacies. And most of them, you don't even need a prescription. You can just go up to the counter, tell them the name of the drug in Spanish that you need, and they'll hand it to you. And in some cases, that drug is, a fraction, maybe 10% of what it costs in the United States. Those types of things, even medical tests, you can get like an MRI for a couple of $100 in Mexico and get the results the same day on a CD, as opposed to here in the States where you have to wait, many, many days to get those results, and it's thousands upon thousands of dollars to do. Those things can be paid out of pocket for you in Mexico. But it's hospitalizations that can really cause you financial hardship. If you're hospitalized for any reason, you need to first present A, a credit card or an insurance card for payment. And then B, that could run, thousands upon thousands of dollars and really just, set you back because they're going to want payment before you're released from that hospital. So there's two types of healthcare insurance that you can get in Mexico. The first is going to be government insurance, and that's going to be through the Social Security system or IMSS system, IMSS. And so the IMSS system in Mexico provides for healthcare for just the general public, and it allows you to be able to go to a public government-run hospital for insurance. Now, the problem with that is sometimes that they don't have funding for things like surgeries, and you have to schedule them well in advance and way out, and it may be too late, right? You may need surgery for something and you just can't get it because there's no funding for it. You also have to wait a year, pay into the system, and then wait a year before you can get access to that healthcare coverage. And so the IMSS system is good. It's better than nothing. But if you want the best services and the best treatment, you want private healthcare insurance in Mexico. So when we talk about health insurance, one of the biggest things is, what does this cost, right? What does it cost for health insurance in Mexico? For my family of three, we pay roughly 40,000 pesos for a policy for all three of us. So that's, just about $2,000 for the year annually. Now, compare and contrast that to the United States, where in some cases you may be paying $600, $700, $800 a month for a family, for health insurance on the Obamacare exchange or the open exchange or whatever you have in your system. Now, that healthcare that we have here in the States would also cover doctor visits. It probably has some astronomical copay, which is going to be, or not copay, but deductible. In Mexico, you also have deductibles, but the deductibles are a little different. In the United States, the deductibles are based on an annual amount that you have to meet per individual or for the family. In Mexico, the deductibles are based on per condition. And so a good example of that is if you have a child and that child has asthma, you would pay a deductible for their asthma treatment. But once you pay that deductible for that asthma condition, you no longer pay a deductible for asthma going forward. So if you maintain insurance for the next 10 years, you no longer pay a deductible for asthma. Also, accidental injuries and treatment, like emergency treatments, do not have a deductible. So if you're in an accident, you get a concussion, you fall or something like that, and you have to be hospitalized, that particular condition or situation does not have a deductible. You're just seen and you're treated, and there's no deductible for accidental injuries or coverage or treatment. Now, if you have to schedule something like a hernia surgery or some other type of situation, then you're going to need to get that situation covered. And you may or may not have a deductible for those things, depending on if it was involved in an accident or not. But if you're scheduling services like a hernia surgery or a back surgery or some type of surgery like that, then you may have to meet the deductible for that. Deductibles, one of the things that when you're dealing with the healthcare system in Mexico, particularly for health insurance, it's important to get a couple of things. One, you need a factura. A factura is a official receipt. So it's not the same as just a recibo, which is going to be just a generic receipt. A factura is like an itemized invoice or receipt that you receive saying that you had these services, and it's on letterhead and it's like an official thing. And so quite often when you go to stores and you make a big purchase, if there's a warranty involved, they'll ask you if you need a factura. A factura is very important when it comes to getting reimbursement for medical procedures. The other thing that you need is also going to be the prescription from the doctor and any type of test results that you have or any test that the doctor's ordered. And so one of the things that's important for you to do, unlike in the United States, is you actually keep a file of your own medical situation in Mexico. So it's kind of your responsibility to know, what medications, what things you have. You take that file from doctor to doctor so doctors can see you are the holder of your medical information, as opposed to in the United States, that stuff is kind of in the system or through your insurance company or what have you, and they can pull it up. It's not the same in Mexico. There's no centralized system for your healthcare records or what have you. You actually control and hold all of those records and take them to each doctor that you would see. And so things like test results are given back to you, your prescriptions and all of that stuff. Now, if you maintain a factura, prescriptions, and test results, you can keep a file up to 2 years and submit those claims to your health insurance company through your agent and for reimbursement, right? So if those things don't add up, your prescription drugs every month don't add up to your deductible, your tests don't add up to your deductible, you can accumulate up to 2 years worth of receipts or facturas, prescriptions, and test results, and then submit that to the health insurance company for reimbursement. So that's a really big difference in Mexico. And one of the things that you would want to make sure you save is going to be the factura, the prescriptions, as well as the test results. Save all of those receipts or information about those things so that they can verify that you are the person that this medicine was prescribed to. You are also the person that the test belonged to, and that the doctor issued all of these things so that you could get reimbursed by your insurance company. You have this particular condition. And one way for reimbursement, or one way for payment by the health insurance company, is going to be through reimbursement. So if you have all of those things and you submit them, you have up to 2 years to submit a claim for reimbursement for your medical expenses. So that's just one way. The other way is going to be if you have some type of surgery that you need to have. You need knee replacements, hip replacements, something that you need to have done. You can always get that kind of pre-authorized with a physician through the hospital, through your insurance company, and then get all of that done through your agent so that you're already pre-approved for this particular particular type of procedure that you need before you go to the hospital. And so you go to the hospital, all this is pre-approved, the payment is scheduled, everything is worked out. And then at the end, once you actually, after you had the surgery or the baby or whatever the situation is, you simply pay your deductible for that particular thing, and then you're done. You walk out of there, right? So that is the second way to make sure that you get some type of coverage or payment from the insurance company. The third way is in an emergency situation. And so you have an emergency, you need to go to the hospital. As soon as you get there, you should have someone reach out to, well, first you're going to want to show your insurance card, and you know, they're probably going to ask you for a credit card as well, but show your insurance card so that they know you have private healthcare insurance. But as soon as you are able, you want to have someone reach out to your agent, your insurance agent, as well as have the doctor submit the information to say, okay, yes, this is the condition that they have, so they can start working on getting approval for that particular hospitalization. So emergency situations, you're going to want to show your insurance card to make sure you have insurance. And most hospitals, most private hospitals will know what to do with that insurance card and how to proceed with producing that claim. But you're also going to immediately want to reach out to your agent if you have a situation like that. The other option is reimbursement. And then the third option is for scheduled services, which we've talked about, where you kind of get all of that pre-planned before you go in for the procedure. And then at the end, you simply pay your deductible and you're out the door. So those are the three ways to get reimbursed or to get paid for medical expenses in Mexico with health insurance. Last but not least, medical insurance covers partial dental care. So it's going to give you a small percentage back towards routine maintenance like cleanings and fillings and, you know, those types of things. It's not going to be 100%, but there's some coverage for dental, you know, maintenance, if you will, with your healthcare insurance. So it's a good idea to have healthcare. A lot of people simply pay for things like braces out of pocket in Mexico, because instead of being, you know, $10,000 for a set of braces, you're talking $300 or $400. There's a big medical tourist industry where people fly into Mexico, have surgeries done, and simply pay out of pocket because the cost of flying to Mexico, stay for 3 weeks or a month in Merida is going to be far cheaper than, you know, having that one little procedure done or dental work done in the United States. So there's a whole industry around that. But if you have insurance, it makes it even better because the insurance is going to be less expensive and you're going to be able to take advantage of, you know, that insurance and those coverages, you know, being in Mexico. And one other benefit that I have with my health insurance is I have coverage for 130 million pesos for medical incidents inside of Mexico, but I also have $100,000 worth of coverage when I travel abroad. So if I travel back to the States and I'm in an emergency situation where I have to be admitted to the hospital, I have $100,000 of coverage that'll pay for hospitalization and things of that nature here in the States. Even if I have insurance in the States where I have coverage, that will also supplement that insurance that I have in the States. So if there's a deductible that I have to meet and then I have, you know, other coverage, that policy will help me in the States. So it's a good idea, you know, to have insurance, even if you're a tourist in Mexico, to have insurance. So tourists can buy medical insurance up to age 64 or 65. Residents can buy medical insurance up to age 69 without having to prove that they medically qualify. After age 69, you have to prove that you medically qualify for the insurance. But if you're a resident, you can buy insurance up to age 69 without having to prove you qualify for the insurance. IMSS is available for residents and Mexican citizens. It is not available for tourists. Unlike private healthcare insurance, that's going to be available for tourists as well. But IMSS is only available for temporary or permanent residents of Mexico and citizens of Mexico. All right, that's all I got for you today. Leave me comments below with any questions you have. I have a meeting in a few weeks with my insurance agent, and I'll make sure I get those questions answered if I don't know the answer. If you like this video, do me a favor, hit that like button. Until next time, MexitPlans Monty, I'm out.